Hello and welcome. I am Dr. Lara, a clinical pharmacist specializing in functional medicine, as well as a certified yoga teacher and Reiki master. I run a truly integrative health coaching practice encompassing functional medicine lab testing, yoga and meditation, and a sprinkling of Reiki energy medicine. Join me here on Light Body Radio to break through your health plateau and come into alignment with your natural vitality. Hello and welcome, everyone. I'm your host, Dr. Lara, and this is Light Body Radio. And today we have with us Alie Harwood, and we are going to talk about the foundations of true self-confidence and what all that entails and what it really means. And Alie is a holistic wellness and confident coach, and she supports shy, introverted women to break free from their chronic overthinking, self-judgment, and all that other crap that goes on in our head that holds us back so that they can feel at peace in their own mind and body and express their true, authentic selves. So welcome, Alie.
Well, hi, thank you so much for having me.
So I want to get started with what your story is. How did you become an introvert expert?
Yes, so it's very much related to my personal journey and experience. It began for me when I entered my teenage years and started to become more self-aware, started to compare myself, and I didn't understand what it really meant to be an introvert at that time. For me, it became clear that I was a lot more quiet and shy than other people. And this basically led to several subconscious beliefs that I was not good enough, that my personality was not good enough, and therefore I wasn't. And so I tried to compensate for that by trying to look as good as I could. And that led to an eating disorder when I was 14 years old. And basically, it just from there, I had this very turbulent relationship with myself, with my body, with food and exercise. And it was a very private struggle of this kind of unworthiness and self-consciousness, not really knowing or feeling confident enough to share my true thoughts and feelings, and kind of feeling like I needed to either be like others to fit in, or it was just easier to withdraw and be alone. And the turning point for me came very unexpectedly in my third year of university, when I came home one summer, and I read this inspiring true story about a woman who discovered that she had suppressed anger towards her dad. And this really resonated with me. And basically, she was led to do this forgiveness process. And I just knew that I had to do that for myself. So there was basically a private journaling kind of forgiveness process that I did. And then the second part to that was actually having the courage to go and tell my dad, just everything, how I'd been feeling and what I'd discovered. And that experience was not only rekindled our relationship between me and my dad, but it also had this knock-on effect, positive knock-on effect with my other relationships. And it kind of, from there, I entered this journey of self-discovery and personal development. And it was looking back, it was the first time I had this, I was kind of taking responsibility for my own well-being in this conscious way, because that was what it was. It was, first and foremost, it was I want to release myself of this, this suppressed anger, and because I know, this is important to me, this relationship, and how it had impacted me. So that's basically what led me down to discover the field of coaching. And I, I'm very passionate about this taking a holistic approach, because every area of our life is connected, and every part of our being is connected. And so then when I was doing my coaching training, and we were guided to decide who do we want to work with specifically, that was where I also became a lot clearer on what it means to be an introvert, and that was where I kind of just put all the pieces together of my journey and realized, okay, so yeah, this is who I want to support. And a big part of that is also demystifying what it means to be an introvert, because there can be a lot of misunderstandings around that.
Okay, cool. So let's go there next. What does it mean to be an introvert?
Yeah. So, I mean, first of all, the misunderstandings can be that it equals shyness or social anxiety or low self-confidence, and actually, it's a personality type by itself, and those things are not, they are additional things that anyone can experience, really. And so, to be an introvert is actually much more to do with how you process information. So we are internal processes. So we make sense of things privately and often quite deeply in our minds first. So we love to reflect and imagine and analyze and all of those things. And the second part to it is to do with how we gain and lose energy. So typically introverts are more sensitive to stimuli in the environment, whether it's lots of people, noise, light, energy, movement. And so we can still enjoy the kind of those situations, but there will be a limit where we need to actually recharge by having some alone time and quiet time, much more often than extroverts typically would. So yeah, they're the kind of key parts to it.
Mm-hmm. And so on your website and in your work, you talk a lot about the true self. So what is the true self, and how is that different than maybe what might be considered or labeled as like the ego or the egoic self?
Yeah, I mean, this is something that I'm constantly exploring more of, because it's such a wide topic. But I think a big, important place to start is kind of doing that self-discovery work. So really looking at what are all the labels and the beliefs that you are currently identifying with, and kind of exploring, okay, where did they come from? And we don't need to get too hung up on that if you don't really know where, but just exploring that, and then coming to this realization of like, okay, is this a fact? Is it like 100% true? Does it represent the real me, the whole me? And from there, then it's coming to this realization that you actually have a choice there. These labels, these beliefs, and of course, like our patterns, our habits, we're not limited to them as much as it can seem that way, because we become so used to this way of thinking and believing and acting. But actually we can tune into, okay, well, what would my heart how would my heart view this, or my soul, or what would I truly love to believe instead, and from there it's kind of recreating your beliefs and your sense of self. So I think
Right.
that's one place to start.
Yeah, because a belief is just a thought that we keep thinking, right? And
Exactly.
I don't think a lot of people really understand a belief as being that. And when we just distill it down to something so simple, is that we get to choose what we think, and therefore we should be able to also choose what we believe.
Mm-hmm.
And that when we're young, I mean, it's normal for us to, be taught things by our parents and by society, friends, and school. But I think, especially too, like you alluded to earlier, as an introvert, we almost take those on. And maybe extroverts do too. Maybe this is one of these universal human things that we don't know any better. And so we just take them on. And then it's almost like the journey of unlearning as we become autonomous adults. And then realizing, oh, just because they said that, or just because they, or I was told this over and over and over by society or the media, doesn't necessarily make it true. And I get to decide what's true for me.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah.
So I think this naturally takes us to the next sort of like aspect of your work, which I love. And it's also my word for 2021 is awareness. And
Mm-hmm.
so the role that awareness plays in your work and how you work with your clients, and just this journey that you take your clients on.
Mm. Yeah, so like I mentioned before, I love to start with this self-discovery to really get to know yourself. And so that includes, getting to know your needs, your preferences, your passions, your values, your strengths, your desires, and your areas that you'd like to heal and grow in. And it's coming to this place of acceptance around that as well, versus resistance and judgment, because when we do that, we just kind of amplify those, what the things that we are not liking or not fully accepting. um, and and from there, it's then going into the mind, all the mindset work, so the labels, the beliefs, definitely just becoming more aware of the nature of your mind, and then and the power of it, and really, as we were saying, like how those thoughts and beliefs can impact our feelings and then our actions. And oh, yeah, lost my thought.
Yeah, no. I think it's just so powerful because I don't think that a lot of us really even are aware that we can give ourselves permission to ask all those questions. I mean, um, you know, because I think, especially I know with my clients, sometimes you ask some of those questions and they're like, oh, I don't know. No one's ever asked me
Yeah.
that before. And it never occurred to them to ask themselves that. And so I think just the practice of going through and creating that space for that curiosity can open up so much. And when we, like you said, create the awareness and then also just give ourselves permission and then come to a level of acceptance, I think that can just, and it seems so simple, but it can be such a huge shift.
Yeah, absolutely.
And yeah, and I think too, also being an introvert myself, I think your work is so powerful because I feel like introverts oftentimes feel more isolated and alone just because we get in these cycles and we know what makes us feel better, but then also too, sometimes it can, have a negative feedback loop also. And so, sort of like creating that camaraderie and that supportive environment so that you or the client knows that they have someone to talk to, they have someone to support. And I think in this crazy year that we've been through with COVID and so much, isolation because of, the infectious aspect of it, but now that we've been forced into isolation, whereas introverts usually before chose isolation in certain aspects. So have you seen that affect your clients, or maybe even like the world? How have you seen that play out from your perspective?
Yeah, I think if anything, for introverts, it's kind of a new insight into the fact that yes, we enjoy and we need that, alone time, but also it's so important to balance that out with the social connection time. I know myself from experience, I have kind of pushed the limits with my own, alone time. And then, it can also become kind of like like something you get so used to or even addicted to. And then it's the thought of kind of going out and socializing and can feel a bit more daunting because you haven't, you haven't prioritized it. So I think that's, I think if anything, that's probably the biggest thing is recognizing just how important it is to make sure you do prioritize that connection.
Absolutely. So powerful. So what about, how do emotions and feelings play into this? Because I think that's something else that, you sort of alluded to it earlier, like what we resist persists. And a lot of times we will go into these patterns of isolation or avoidance, or even we'll pick up things that are not good for us because we're avoiding feeling things or acknowledging things. And so how can we do that and sort of in like the most healthy way possible so that we can keep moving forward instead of staying stuck?
Yeah. I mean, there's lots of different kind of practices and techniques out there these days on how to respond to your emotions. I think, I mean, of course, number one with everything is always that awareness of, okay, like awareness of the emotion that's arising, as opposed to, suppressing it or denying it. And a process that I came up with, which is just one way that we can respond to our emotions, is something I called like riding the emotional wave. And so it's just starting with that acknowledgement first of all. Okay, like, all right, I'm feeling this emotion, and maybe where it's located in your body, if you can sense that. And then accepting it rather than judging it or resisting it, and then kind of you can go on to like understanding the message behind it, right? Because our emotions are always telling us something, and it's a really powerful way to reframe how you see them, instead of just thinking like, oh, it's a annoying thing. If we just ask that question, okay, like, okay, I'm listening, I'm here, what do you want to tell me, and then from that, just coming to a place of gratitude, and you can even kind of talk to this emotion and send gratitude and love to it, and then allowing it to at whatever point this comes, allowing it to be expressed. So whether that is through sound or tears or whatever it might be, just giving yourself permission to actually move that energy out of your body. And if, I mean, this is a nice thing to do alone, but if you are around other people, or using your breath is always a nice kind of discreet way to do it, where you can, you're relaxing your body, and that exhale can be that kind of way to release whatever you might be feeling.
Right, with intention, I assume,
Mm,
like saying,
yes.
okay,
Yeah.
yeah, so I'm going to intentionally allow this to release.
Mm,
I love too that you brought up like where am I feeling in my body, because I think especially too like when it comes to like a lot of my work is focused around preventing disease state manifestation.
mhm,
And I don't think we all realize, again, like we store these emotions and these events, and we store so much stuff in our body because we we don't want to feel it. And but ironically enough, then we end up holding on to it because it is unprocessed. And then but we're not taught how to process
mhm,
it. And so or we're told that, like just don't show those feelings, like so it's just so interesting that I think it's such an important practice too, to start allowing yourself to tune into your body. And I know you recently wrote a blog about embodiment. And so I think that would be good and to talk a little bit more
mm,
too, like what does embodiment really mean? And is it just a matter of like allowing space and time to start tuning in and asking these questions and just letting whatever comes up come up?
yeah. So embodiment to me is about being fully present in the body, and connected to whatever you're feeling within, and then authentically expressing that on the outside. So there's this kind of alignment between your inner experience and your outer expression. So like an example is, we might say like she's the embodiment of joy, and it's because it's like her body language. It's like an energy that we can sense. You might hear it in her voice. So there's this kind of complete, alignment, which is not always what we do in our daily life, because we can be, kind of, like we said, so we can suppress how we actually feel or hide how we really feel. And so there's a misalignment, right? However we try to cover it up. Um, and so, yeah, embodiment is so basically we can. I recently became an embodied dance facilitator, and through that practice, it's a way to practice embodiment. So it's like you can either tune in to connect to your body and your feelings that maybe you did suppress in order to release them, or you can also connect to the feelings you want to call in and embody. And like there's different ways that we can call in a feeling, and it can be through affirmations and visualization, and then of course movement, dance, music, breath, sound, all of these kind of ways to invite a feeling within us. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I love that because I think also too, it really comes back to being intentional
Mm,
and just creating the practice of showing up intentionally for yourself in your life. And so whether that's okay, I want to embody more of self-confidence, what does that look like and what will that look like for me? And so what is there do you feel like that's sort of a stepwise process for each person, or do you feel like each person has a little different um approach when it comes to like figuring out this whole self-confidence thing?
um I mean, so in my signature program, my one-to-one program, I put together these 6 core steps that reflect my own personal journey, and
Mm.
that's where I take this holistic approach. So I believe that that's a very helpful structure, of course,
Yeah, like a
but
framework.
yeah, a framework, exactly. Um, and I think it's important, if anything, setting the foundations at the beginning, which for me is this kind of releasing the suppressed emotions, kind of letting go of the past or whatever you're holding on to. Then it's the self-discovery mindset reprogramming, and then it's like this. It's a journey of embodying what I call your empowered self. So it's connecting to her, and what does she believe, and how does she see the world, and everything about her, and taking from that point to, you know, on a daily basis, like just basically choosing to align with her,
Mm-hmm.
which you can do in you know, every moment that you're aware, and every moment that you choose to. So and a big part of that is you know, having this choosing self-love and self-compassion. And so that's what I see as the foundation. And then it becomes more of like, you know, learning how to own your voice around other people, because, you know, we can learn these kind of surface tips on how to feel more confident around people, but I feel like that foundational work is really key to establish that first.
Interesting that you brought up owning your own voice. I like that. So
Yeah.
do you find that introverts don't maybe like speak their truth, or, you know, or maybe don't express themselves as much?
Yeah, I mean, I think because of it being internal processes, and typically needing a bit more time to think and process before we speak, yeah, it can be. I'm not going to say everyone is like that, but it can be. I think we are more prone
Mm-hmm.
to having that kind of, you know, holding back, especially in for example, a group situation where it can be difficult for introverts to actually, you know, say what they want to say in the where there is a gap because
Mm-hmm.
people could be talking, and before you know it, the topic has changed. And so yeah, I think they can be more prone to it, definitely.
It's so interesting. I love it. It's just fascinating.
Yeah.
So, what what's the biggest area that you're most curious about lately with your work? Like, where are you like doing more research, or where do you see this work evolving?
Yeah, for me, I've been really diving into, well, definitely spirituality and law of attraction and manifestation. That's been going on for quite a few months now. But the most recent thing is actually purpose. So, and that can be another, you know, a topic that's quite like ambiguous. So I've been, yeah, just researching all the different kind of perspectives of what purpose means, and it's something that's very meaningful to me. So yeah, I'm considering maybe creating a program, but for that by itself.
Okay, because I noticed, yeah, on you do talk a lot about purpose and the different things on your. So, what have you come up with so far? Like, what does it mean to you at this moment?
Yeah. So I think the biggest thing is that it's not tied to one specific thing that you do, like, you know, like your job. So it's more of a like the way you do it, like a way of being, and also the intention, the why behind it. So I think it's a way of being that's in alignment with your truth and your passions and your values. So that's where that self-discovery work is so important, to kind of see where there's these common themes that are coming up across all of those parts of you, to then just kind of explore what, like, and also your strengths and your gifts as well, I think. So I feel like putting it together, your purpose is something that you can offer to the world in whatever way it is, that is comes naturally, and it's kind of enjoyable for you. So it's using your gifts in that way.
Right. And I think that could be so many different things. And I think you brought up a good point that I think, well, when people hear that word purpose, they're like, oh, it must just be like what I do for work. And it's like, well, it can include that, but it's really like, how do you show up? How do you raise your children? How do you, respond to your friends and your family and coworkers in a time of challenge? And, because everything obviously is not hunky dory all the time. And I feel like what really defines us, probably more than anything else, is how we show up when things are challenging.
Yes.
And, do we revert back to the self-judgment or judgment of others or the reactivity? Or do we show up with like calm acceptance or like loving kindness, compassion, all of these different things? And or the way we show up, how it creates space for others so that maybe they feel safe to be vulnerable, or and so many different things. But yeah
And I think the more I'm like exploring it, this kind of expression of aligning with your purpose, it actually it's very connected to the aligning with your empowered self, which is the work I'm already doing. Because I see your empowered self as this healthy integration of your human self and your spiritual self. So this kind of this mind, body, soul integration where each one is heard and respected, and they're kind of working together in harmony. And so I feel like it's very connected.
Yeah, because as we go along, we're going to have emotions and feelings, and being aware of those and allowing ourselves to feel them, and then but allowing them also to move through us. And so we learn to not let them get stuck again, like a previous pattern possibly. And so I think, and or like you said, like having that internal dialogue with yourself. Oh, this emotion is coming up. What is it trying to tell me? Because I'm sure, as all of those of us that are students of the law of attraction, the emotions, they're our internal guidance system, as Abraham Hicks likes to say. So.
Yes. Love Abraham.
And I feel like that our emotions really aren't given that much credence in terms of when we're being raised as children. We're just told, like, these are the social norms, and this is how you need to behave, and don't show your emotions, or only in these certain circumstances is it okay to show these certain emotions.
Yes.
And there's just so many, and that's because we are infinite beings, and so there should be an infinite amount of emotions too, and that's okay.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And just knowing that we can all experience the whole spectrum of emotions, like we do, even though it might not seem that way.
Yeah. And you would think that would allow us to be more compassionate towards other humans, knowing that, oh, they're obviously feeling some really strong emotions. I know I have felt really strong emotions at other times, but instead we're, I guess we judge how they take action on those emotions.
Yeah.
For better or for worse,
Yeah. It's something that I would love that, and along with everything else that we've just talked about, to be in the school curriculum,
Yes. I feel like percolating. It's going to come together.
Yeah.
So tell us how people can find you.
Yeah, so you can visit my website at wellnesswithalie.com, and that's ALIE. I'm also on Instagram at wellnesswithalie, and my Facebook is Alie Harwood, and I also have a private Facebook group, which is the Confident Introvert Tribe.
Okay, very cool. And I'll link all these to the show notes page. And so just to sort of sum everything up, and is there and let's leave maybe them like a tool to, or like a practice maybe that they can implement and take home with them today. What would you say, like a good place to just like start a core foundation?
I think it would have to be the self-discovery.
Mm-hmm.
If you haven't given yourself that permission, especially, you know, we all say, oh no, I'm too busy for that. You know, something that, or maybe you think you already know the answers, but actually, you know, it takes some. You need to create that space and that time and set the tone. You know, like maybe you put some music on. You know, just make it a kind of nice experience, and yeah, and just maybe you find some journal prompts and just exploring, you know, what are the things that feel true for you at this stage of your life, and knowing that some of those things may reflect like your true essence and some of them might change, and that's, you know, totally okay, because we are multifaceted,
Right.
ever evolving.
Because it's okay for us to be like, you know what? I don't like that, or I don't need that anymore, and I can release it, or I want to change this aspect about myself. And
Yes.
like, that's so powerful that we can make that choice, knowing that with nothing's ever stuck in stone. Only
Yeah.
if we choose it to be, you know, the only thing constant on this in this realm is change, really.
Mm-hmm.
So, and
Yeah.
there's also a free guide on your website too.
Mm-hmm. There's
Um,
two now.
oh, okay, cool. Tell us about
Yeah.
those.
Yeah. So there's the Confident Introverts Pathway, and that's um, basically going from shy and insecure to confident and empowered. So that's actually going through the six core areas that are in my signature program. And this actually includes some journal prompts, basically, to explore each area and just to gauge where you're at in that area. And the second one is mindset mastery. So there's 12 mindset shifts and practices to help you adopt a more empowered mindset.
Fabulous. Well, thank you so much. Is there anything that we haven't discussed that you have a burning desire to bring forward before we finish up?
I mean, I think I may have touched on it before, but it's this, you know, once you've done the foundational work, or alongside it, is another key part is taking the consistent baby steps, you know,
Mm-hmm.
because it can feel like a very daunting thing to, if you feel far away from where you want to be and the person you want to be, that can feel quite like, oh, I can't possibly change that much. But it's, the transformation really lies in those consistent baby steps and those consistent changes that you choose to make on a daily basis.
Yes, yes, because it's not about how perfect we are. It's just how quickly we come back to that awareness and that intention, and just like the redirect, like, oh,
Yes.
that really irritated me in traffic, but that's okay. You know, like I can release it, let it go, not take it with me throughout the whole day and stew on it, for example. And, you know, just again, always how quickly we come back. Absolutely.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it's not about becoming this perfect human being.
Yeah, no, I think that's important to point out. And I do feel like this is a good place to like for us to end up, because we've talked about the self-compassion and acceptance, but with the what is the aspiration? Well, the aspiration, like you said, is to be balanced, to be aware, to be embodied. And that means that, you know, we're human and we're imperfect, but we have this infinite potential to, you know, for happiness and joy and expansion. And so it's just constantly sort of taking, you know, some steps forward, and then maybe we take a step back, but then we come back, you know, recenter ourselves and keep taking those steps forward,
Yeah.
and just loving our imperfections.
Well said.
Well, thank you so much. And I look forward to chatting with you more as your programs evolve. I can't wait to see what unfolds next. And we will chat with Alie again. Thank you.
Thank you.